today's lesson, lesson 14, is ordered pairs. And I have another video on this also if you want to check it out at some point, right? But it's coordinate pairs, ordered pairs. And so what we're doing is when we look at this, right, and I refer to it as coordinate pairs because it's on a graph, right? But we always do it as an x comma y. If you sing the alphabet, right, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on, right? We get to x, then y, then z. So x comes before y always. So on a coordinate pair system, we're just following the alphabet, x comma y. The first number of the ordered pair is called the x coordinate, right? Because that's the first number that shows up. And the second number of an ordered pair or coordinate point is called the y coordinate. And that's the second number here. Now remember, we spent some time talking about a graph setup, right? And I had you put out your hands, right? If this was like a person, I had you put out your hands. I was worried for a minute that I gave them 6 digits. We'll give them 5 digits for a hand, 5 fingers, right? So if you're like that, right, you're going to put out your hands and you're going to say out loud, as you put your head back, as you tilt your head back, you're saying out loud, why Mr. Herringer? Or why Mr. H? Right? And what you're actually doing is, as you're putting your head, you're tilting your head back, saying why Mr. Herringer, you're actually moving your head up and down the y-axis, and you're using your hands to create and arms to create the x-axis, right? And we know as adults that we are supposed to sign, if we're, getting a loan or something like that, we sign next on the line next to the x. We sign our name. So there's the x and there's the line. So there's the way to remember the x and y on a graph. And so the first and second numbers in an ordered pair or in a coordinate pair are x comma y in that order. And so x would then represent the left and right direction of how far you move from 0 or from the center point, the origin, right? And the y coordinate or second one would tell you how far to move up or down in comparison. All right, so we're going to describe how the ordered pair is being used in your scenario, indicate what defines your first coordinate, what defines your second coordinate in your scenario. So again, for the second part here, we're talking about a graph, right? So this is the x, I'm just putting on the other side. It doesn't really matter. Usually we typically put the y up on the top and we'll put the x to the right side. You could also do it where you label it and the y is top and the x is left. You could also do it where you have the y on the bottom and x is on the left or x is on the right. We usually just label one of them, so either left or right and top or bottom. We usually label the top for the y, and then traditionally speaking, we usually label the x on the right hand side, and that's only because right now we have all 4 quadrants, right? Quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4, but a lot of times, and especially like with science, we only use this first quadrant when we look at comparing things that have positive values on both. So that would be where people have gotten the habit of putting the x and the y in those spots. Doesn't really matter though, and I'm not going to be picky for my stuff. So looking at this, it says the first coordinates of the ordered pairs represent the numbers on the line labeled x. Second coordinate represents the numbers on the line labeled y, like we talked about, x and y coordinates. Name the letter from the grid below that corresponds with each ordered pair of numbers below. So let's start off this way. A says 1 comma 4. That means this is my x and this is my y. So x means I'm going to go over 1 space, and then y for the 4 means I'm going to go up 4 spaces. Remember, if it's positive and it's the x value, we move to the right. If it's positive and it's the y value, we move up. If it's negative and the x value, we move left. So just like a number line, which is why this ties in so well. If this is my x, right, positives move to the right and negatives move to the left. And if this is my y for my number line, right, a vertical number line, positives move up and negatives move down. So we're all in comparison from this point right here, 0, 0, which is the origin of the graph, right? The origin of the graph, okay? So 1, 4 means over 1 and up 4. So from here, I'm gonna go over 1, all right? And I'm just gonna put a dot on the graph so you can kind of see it, right? So it's that dot right there, okay? And then up 4 spaces, we'll notice that that is the space right there, F. So A, it represents capital letter F, right? B says 0, 5. That means from here, from this center origin point, I don't move over left or right at all because that's my X. So I don't move at all. 5 is still a positive, so I'm going to move up 5 spaces. That's my Y, and that would get me here to this A. Okay, moving a little faster. C says 4, 1. I'm going to go over 4 to the right and up 1, and that would be my answer there. D says 8.5, 8, so I'm going to go over 8.5 spaces. That'll be in between number 8 and number 9. And then I'm going to go up 8 spaces, and that's what this dot is here. That's L. 5, -2 means now we're going to go over 5 spaces, but we're going to go down 2 spaces because it's a negative number. So over 5 and down 2 leads me here at G. 5, 4.2 means I'm going over 5 and then up 4 and a little more, and you'll notice a little more. 4.2 is less than half, so it should be H. 2, -1 means over 2 and down 1, so over 2 to the right and down 1, and that's letter C as in cat. And H is 0, 9, means from the center point I don't move at all left or right, I only move up 9 spaces, and that would be E right there. And as we continue on through these, you'll notice now we have the same thing, but it's inverted. They're putting all the letters out there and telling us which points to look at, and we have to write the coordinates. So point M, if I find M is right here. How far over is it? Well, it's over from, again, everything is from this center dot here. So it's over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's, you don't have to count it. You can just look at that line there, and you could look at this line here. So it's over 5, and remember, we always write the X first and the Y second. So in our coordinate point or our ordered pair, right, we're writing, oops, not 0. We are writing X and then I was putting 0 for ordered. X, Y, right? So X, in the X direction, we moved over 5 spaces first, then we moved up 7 spaces. So point M is 5, 7. Point N is right here. You'll notice we moved over 6 spaces, and we didn't move up or down at all, and that's okay. So we moved over 6 spaces to the right, and we didn't move up or down at all, which means we stayed at that point. We didn't move any spaces, so 0. Point P is this point right here. You'll notice we didn't move left or right at all, so my X value is 0, right? I didn't move to the left or right. I stayed right there, and I just went up, and I went up 6 spaces, so I went up a positive 6. Point Q is over 2 and up 3. So over 2 and up 3. Remember, it's always over and then up. Point R, I didn't move at all from that point left or right. I only went up, and I went up 3 spaces, positive. Point S, I went backwards. -2, right? -2. And then I still went up. I went up to this 3 here, so I went up 3 spaces. And you'll notice right now I don't have anything below this line here. I don't have anything below it, so none of my Y values should be negative. They should all either be zeros or should be positive numbers. T is over 3 spaces to the left, and if it's to the left, it's a negative. And then it's up 2 spaces. U is over to the right, it's over here, to the right 7 spaces, and it's up 5 spaces, so it's 7, 5. And point V as in Victor is right here. It's over to the left 1 space, so that's a -1, and it's up 6 spaces. And we are off to problem set.